and how it arose, our collaboration, the model that we have come up with together. I'll tell you about our advanced English as a second or other language courses, the CNIE support services we offer to our students, the community collaborative approach that we've embraced, a little bit about our research initiative, our evolving programming, and finally, you'll get to hear from a couple of our students. This is our mission statement. I'll read it for those of you for whom that might be small. The Collaborative for New Immigrant Education is committed to providing access to English language education, as well as support beyond the language classroom, fostering leadership and development opportunities through collaborations at the university and within our New York City communities. So, how do we know that there might be a need for our programming? Well, of the 1.7 million limited English proficient New Yorkers, less than 2% are able to access state-funded ESL classes. So there's limited access to advanced ESOL classes, despite the fact that these advanced English language skills play a critical role in entering a professional labor market. Research shows that refugees interested in entering the higher education system here struggle with understanding how the system operates, accessing funding, fulfilling university entry policies. And asylum seekers and asylees who entered the US with a higher education degree from their own countries struggle with under and unstable employment situations, unstable housing, previous trauma, and chronic stress. There are challenges with obtaining prior educational records, challenges with degree evaluation and recognition, sometimes hostile immigration policies, and no support programs during the asylum application. But there is evidence that achieving high-level proficiency in a majority language can increase chances for getting postgraduate qualifications, full-time employment, and higher income. So we wanted to help with that. Keeping in mind that less than 2% of those in need were able to access, the kind of English language program that they needed, we thought, okay, maybe we can be helpful here. This is, your chances of getting into Harvard are greater than your chances of getting into, a free ESL class in New York City, according to our research. So this was a faculty-driven initiative. NYU School of Professional Studies English Language Institute faculty came up with this idea, and we set out to understand the need for English language instruction for these limited English proficient New Yorkers. One of our first steps in establishing the CNIE was to reach out to our colleagues at the NYU Silver School of Social Work, as well as community providers at RIF Asylum Support, in an effort to further explore the need for language instruction in our community and identify those with least access. And our colleagues helped us identify refugees in particular in New York City as having least access to advanced level English language instruction, despite the fact that it plays this critical role in entering a professional labor market.
So here you'll see an overview of the structure of the Collaborative for New Immigrant Education. And you can see that it's housed within the English Language Institute at the NYU School of Professional Studies. It's a cross-school collaboration with the NYU Silver School of Social Work and a community collaboration with RIF Asylum Support. And we have a community collaborative committee. The community collaborative committee is made up of ELI faculty, our Silver School of Social Work researcher, our RIF Asylum support partner, who's also a social worker, and our former students who have attended the CNIE. And this is our CNIE model. We offer advanced tuition-free ESOL classes. We have a research component, support services, and it's a community and cross-school collaboration.
So let me tell you a little more about the advanced professional communication course that we offer. It's a high-level ESL class. We usually have about 16 students in a cohort. They enjoy a 12-week semester with 90 contact hours and plenty of homework. Among the things that we do are write, revise, and edit, emails, proposals, reports. Students gain a deeper knowledge of workplace communication conventions and styles. They gain fluency in using and recognizing professional vocabulary as opposed to less formal language. We facilitate discussions. They develop oral presentation skills. We work on small talk. We work with advanced level real world subject matter. And in the end, along with building proficiency, they build confidence in using professional English. And this is what our students look like at the end of a 2.5-hour class. This might be on a Thursday after they've already had, 3 hours of class earlier in the week. And this is a night class. So it's after many have already worked a full day.
At the CNIE, we have added student support services every semester. So we have social work counseling. We have MSW interns from the Silver School of Social Work who meet one-on-one with our students. We connect our students to city resources, and we have a monthly newsletter. The newsletter connects students with events in the city, events at the university, things like information sessions that they might be interested in for application to university programs and other resources. We offer professional development events and access to ELI events. So we have invited LinkedIn to speak with our students, Upwardly Global. We had a fashion business event. So we offer about 3 events every semester for students, and the entire, all of these services, the newsletter and the events are offered to our entire community. So that includes former students. We have a graduate student conversation program, and that's for students to meet with graduate students from NYU to learn about the academic classroom in the United States and what the graduate experience is like. We have a language partner program. Our ELI faculty volunteer to meet with our students outside of class to provide additional practice to students. Our students have also initiated a community networking hour. So they meet twice monthly, and they support each other, they network, and the community is reinforced that way. And we also provide our students with access to the NYU Immigrant Defense Initiative. So we have a lawyer come in and counsel our students and answer all of their legal questions. Carolina?
We don't hear you.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. Okay, I hope it works now. So I will talk a little bit about our community collaborative approach. So this is an approach that we use in all our programming and all services that we offer. So this approach assumes that all key stakeholders are involved in the process of programming at every stage of the programming. So since the early moment when we started developing the program, through getting ideas how to develop it further through the implementation stage. And evidence shows that using this type of community collaboration help design and implement programs that are contextually and culturally relevant for the communities that we're serving. And like critical part of this approach is working with the community instead of on behalf of or for the communities. And evidence or research shows that this is the way to produce sustainable outcomes and also to maximize the usefulness of programming for for the communities. So what does it mean in practice in CNIE? So so we have a community CNIE advisory committee with ELI faculties involved and partners representing different types of stakeholders, including our current and former students. Basically, from every cohort of students, we have been recruiting new members to the community, and with the community, we meet regularly in order to discuss our current programming, any issues that we have, and also the ideas that we develop in terms of adding some new services to respond better to the needs of our cohorts of students. And in practice, we also try to implement as many and benefit from the fact that we're part of the university as much as possible. So we establish various collaborations within NYU. So so we cooperate with Silver School of Social Work that provide migration and evaluation research expertise, but also MSW interns who are like core of our programming and are very important for offering support services for our students and also to participate in evaluation in program evaluation. And part of the advisory committee, but also part of our programming is the collaboration that we established with REF Asylum Support, which inside CNIE is represented by Tanzilia Oren. So now I will leave the floor to Tanzilia to describe REF.
REF Asylum Support is a nonprofit organization in New York City. We offer legal orientations and other supports for asylum seekers from many different countries who come to New York City. We have weekly legal orientations, we have weekly support group, and we organize very specific webinars of interest to asylum seekers. So at the collaborative, I help supervise social work interns. Also, as an organization, we help connect with refugee and asylum seeker communities. We help with recruiting students for the program and working on identifying challenges and solutions and sharing resources. Also include students in our education, job, and legal assistance events.
Okay, and now another component of our programming is research. So CNIE is evidence-based model. So for every cohort of students, we conduct pre and post evaluation. We start with needs assessment survey that we conduct for every cohort of students, where we try to identify most pressing issues or needs that our students are struggling with. But also we ask them about their different demographics to see or to make sure that we're serving the population that we aimed at serving. For every cohort, we then conduct analysis in the needs assessment and post-assessment survey that we run. We also ask our students to self-evaluate some of their ESL skills, and also to describe the impact of CNIE on their situation, and also to leave any suggestions that they have about how to make the program better. So based on these results, we can tell you briefly what our student population is. So well, first of all, there is always higher demand than ability to serve. So as of now, we served 8 cohort of students, and we received over 413 applications to participate in the program, and we were able to serve almost 130 students. And our students represent various countries. Their demographics somehow reflects also the current political context. So we had a lot of students in the past from Venezuela, from Russia, Kyrgyzstan, Jamaica, Nigeria, Turkmenistan, Myanmar, Haiti, Azerbaijan, Burkina Faso, Belarus, India, Kazakhstan, South Sudan, Pakistan, and recently we have an increasing population of students from originated in Ukraine. Majority of our students are currently asylum seekers. The rest are either asylees or some already got permanent residency. Most of our students have been in the US for less than 5 years. And now in terms of educational attainment, all of our students have some higher education degree. We have not been recruiting them based on the education level, but on the degrees that they have, only based on their English language skills. But that's the demographic that usually actually their education level is higher than the average for New York City residents. And at the same time, while they are better educated than average New Yorkers, they're receiving lower salaries. So even though 80% of the students have a bachelor degree or higher, their household income of the majority of them falls below the New York City average of $67,000 per year. And now a little bit about how the program impacts or what's the impact of the program on students' English skills. So as I mentioned, for every cohort of students, we ask them on the beginning and at the end of the semester to self-evaluate their reading, writing, speaking, listening, and skills and overall English language confidence. And for all of these parameters, our students, for every cohort, our students report a significant increase in those skills. Okay, and I think now I will leave the floor again to Robyn to discuss how our program actually operates on the ground. So more details.
We have had many challenges, and we have some responses to those challenges that we can discuss. The first challenge was to launch the CNIE, and for that we needed the support of the administration at the School of Professional Studies. And we also needed to identify collaborators and identify our student population, since we couldn't serve everyone we wanted to serve. And so our faculty at the ELI started out by researching the need. Then we reached out to our colleagues at the Silver School of Social Work and RIF Asylum Support, who are migration experts, and were able to gather refugees from refugee communities in New York City to have a community collaborative meeting and identify advanced level ESL as a need for their communities. So that's how we identified our first cohort. In terms of support from the administration, we took all of the research information and all of the information from that meeting, and we created a proposal that was accepted, and they agreed to fund our first cohort. We have had some organizational challenges. One of the greatest challenges for us is, of course, funding, because while we do have the support of the School of Professional Studies, it's not lasting, and we wanted to grow the program and find sustainable funding. So we have been working with university development and alumni relations at the university to identify possible funders. We have created a research subcommittee, so we work on research proposals to get funding. Another challenge we had was understaffing, because we have a faculty to teach our course and a coordinator to sort of coordinate the overall program. But as you can see, we've grown, we do research, we've added programming for our students. And so one of our answers to this is our wonderful MSW interns. We have 2 interns each year who work with us on all fronts. So they're MSW interns, so they work directly with students, providing social service support, but they also work on our research initiatives and help to support our programming needs. So Mary's going to talk about students, faculty, and COVID.
Yeah, so we've found that these are not just your typical NYU students. Students in this program experience unstable work schedules and conditions, unstable housing. They often have a family that they're looking after. Many have experienced trauma. Many are from the LGBTQIA community, and they have experienced trauma specifically related to that. And all of this, we found, translates into sometimes uneven or anxious program participation. This is the first time in my career I've ever taught students who were taking class from a car, for example, or tuning into class outside while on a break from work, or walking a long warehouse floor, or prone while breastfeeding. So our response has been that we had to be more flexible in giving assignments and receiving assignments. We need that support from our MSW interns, who often connect our students to mental health resources. We survey our students quite a lot. We tell them at the beginning, you won't pay in tuition, but you will pay in surveys when you come to class with us. So we're constantly asking them what they need and how we can support them. The additional programming has come as we've learned more about their needs. So that's how we connected to the NYU Legal Defense Fund, for example. We distribute a newsletter with resources at the university and at the city We've created a WhatsApp group for each cohort so they can text one another, and they tell jokes, and it's lovely. You know, it gives us a bit of a sense of community. So, in terms of the staff and the faculty, we didn't necessarily have the skills to work with a traumatized population. We had time limitations. You know, trying to get faculty time to work on this project was not easy. Curriculum had to be developed for this specific course and this specific student population. So that took some time to work out, and we reached out to the school and were luckily given a grant to learn more about culturally relevant and trauma-informed teaching practices. We also won a grant to participate in some storytelling workshops, and we collaborated with the Moth, which is a storytelling outfit in New York City, and they organized some storytelling workshops that our students could participate in, and we had like a story slam at the end. It was great. Another challenge, as you can imagine, has been the COVID-19 pandemic. We were mid-semester when we were informed that we would no longer be meeting in person on NYU's campus. So we had to switch to remote teaching via Zoom. I gave my students one sort of workshop on how to take class on Zoom, and they took it like champs and ran with it. And in fact, some students have reported being better able to study in this remote format because they can breastfeed, for example, while attending class. So so let's hear more about the experience of the students. We'll start with our former student, Jessie. Jessie, do you want to unmute? There we go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jesse Hernandez. I'm a Venezuelan asylum seeker. And I started in the first cohort of NYU. And it was, at the beginning, I didn't hear about the initiative. And I remember by the time I was with a friend who received the first flyer. And we attended the session very late that day, and I remember still how many people were attending the session applied for the test and the latest interviews. So I received a call an email 2 months later saying that I was accepted in the program. I must say that I didn't have an idea about what will be the experience until I was there. So with other 14 students, we started that first cohort, and we experienced a lot of nice things educationally, I must say, because as Mary referred before, the classes were prepared according to the cohort. And the truth is that all that information that we started to receive was really amazing in terms of the learning experience. So in certain grade, we could experience also a lot of the American culture and history and literature, which was really good. After that, 3 months went really fast, and we wanted more. That's the truth, because as an experience, I can say this for all my ex-classmates. Being with NYU was a really enriching experience in terms of not only that we were learning as a, as a text or from the text, but also the experience to be with other students from other countries was really good for us as an experience. I remember that at the end of that cohort, they asked for help with some students to participate in the committee, and I accepted immediately because I didn't want it to offer my experience as a student in that in the future cohort. That was really nice. And the other thing is that being part of this NYU experience allowed me to connect through networking sessions to other kind of organizations, which is really good. Actually, Robyn mentioned before Really Global, which is an organization that prepare asylum job seekers, I'm sorry, to find a job according with their expectations and the educational preparation that everyone have. So I have been, through that experience, I have been doing other networking sessions, as I said, and it was really good because I had access to more training courses, and at the end, this is what really matters in terms of, as I was saying, this educational and cultural experience. So I think that definitely the experience with NYU was or is really good. Have been an experience, an amazing experience for me, and it's something that I recommend to everyone as an asylum seeker or asylee, because here in New York, because it's something that is a life-changing experience. I can say that, and I'm really grateful with the NYU staff, especially Mary, because of their dedication, the way in which they prepare their classes, and all the initiatives that they develop in order to give us to us as an asylum seekers or asylees. This is a really profound and dedicated work. So again, I want to say thanks to everyone and to develop this kind of initiatives for all of us.
Deborah?
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you for the opportunity today. And yes, I'm an asylum seeker, also from Venezuela, and I moved to New York 4 years ago. So at that time, I was only thinking to work and pay my bills like any other immigrant. However, I have been always keen to learn and have new skills and knowledge. So at the end of 2019, I read about CNIE and I decided to apply. So once I got the email that I was chose to get into CNIE, I was really excited. And I was thrilled by the fact that my professor, Mary, was from Canada, because I studied in Canada for 1 year too. So her commitment to the course and giving her knowledge to us was remarkable. And I think Mary pushed us to reach our potential. And personally, I like challenges through which I can grow and improve my skills. We had homework every week, and by that time it was overwhelming, but I think that's the right path to learn faster, and it's appropriate to take advantage when you have someone by your side that can give you feedback. Regarding my group at that time was fascinating. It was a multicultural group, intelligent people willing to learn, and eager to share their stories. One thing that I liked the most is that they all were competitive. And back in Venezuela, I studied in a high school and it was very competitive. So I felt like if I were in high school again. And also, I think New York City, it's a very competitive place where you can find people willing to play hard to get what they want. And once I finished my course, I was notified about the possibility to join the CNIE committee. And now, as a part of the CNIE committee member, it has been an amazing experience where we organized different types of events, such as LinkedIn and mouth storytelling events. In the LinkedIn event was prepared to teach us how to build our profile in that platform, so we can be the right candidate for big companies. And besides this, in the month storytelling event, we could learn how you can implement the storytelling style of communication in every aspect of your life, from marketing, sell a product, to our asylum interview. And I think being able to do the CNIE course gave me more knowledge about advanced communication in English, and the opportunity to be part of CNIE committee now. Even though we haven't had the chance to meet in person, the Zoom meetings have been fulfilling and helpful for each committee member. And knowing people of the same status, sharing our experiences and helping each other, and talking about how to help other alumni, it's something that I'm very grateful to be part of it. So as Jessie said, thank you again for having us and be willing to create this initiative for asylees and asylum seekers.
Thank you, Deborah. And this is our final slide. It's just our contact information if we can answer more questions, and we'd be happy to take questions now.
Thanks so much, Mary. I've got a question. You mentioned that your cohort typically has around 16 learners, and as part of MIT React, we've been able to recognize that small, high touch cohort sizes are so important for giving the attention that learners need and providing, that really high touch support. But what conflicts with that is oftentimes, as you described with funders, they want large scale, they want quantitative, evidence that your program is impactful. And so how do you kind of deal with that? And do you have any plans or intentions to scale up?
Robyn?
Sure. So we did start out with a cohort size between 18 or 20. That was our goal, and we had approval for that goal. And I think that we do want to stay at that size. What our challenge is adding cohorts. We would like to offer more classes. We would like to offer more levels. And so that's something that we keep in mind in funding. And that's something that when we have written proposals, we have tried to incorporate in our proposals. So really scaling up, but in terms of number of cohorts, rather than the size of the actual class. And I don't know if anybody, Carolina or Tanzelia, if you'd like to add anything.
Yes, so just very briefly, I mean, we would definitely want to scale up, and we do think about this model as something that can be used and implemented in other universities, especially in terms of utilizing different resources that exist within universities. Like in our case, we collaborate between schools such as social work or law department, and well, obviously languages and others. I mean, in terms of studies, yeah, probably had we been able to scale up, we would be able also to offer more comprehensive research, including with a control trial, which we could definitely develop, given the fact that we have much more candidates than actual students. But here we're going back to funding, which we're working on.
And just to build on what Carolina was saying, we do think of the CNIE as a replicable model for higher education support for refugees. We've presented it as a model for support for refugees within higher education at the UNHCR, for example, and we think that could take place not only nationally, but globally. And the reason for that is because it's a very flexible model. So we did start sort of with the ESL course as the foundational component of the model. But from there, we were able to build, as Carolina was saying, using university resources and partnering with the community provider and bringing students in to help with our with ideas for programming. And so within universities, nationally or globally, the same could take place, and it might not look exactly like the CNIE that we've created. It would depend on those communities and the resources at those universities. But it is a very flexible model.
I see something in the chat. Nice presentation. Does your organization have any support provided for refugees in other parts of the world? Yeah, we are New York centric right now. Yeah, we serve students who, you know, are within the greater New York City. And we decided on that because we wanted to be able to connect them to local resources and have them be able to take advantage of resources at New York University. So I think this would be a great model in other places, but we don't currently support anything in those other places.
Yes, exactly. Even though I can follow up on what Mary has just said. So even though our programming is currently remote, but we do provide referrals to real places that exist physically around the city, and where our students can apply for support, and then usually they do have specific problems that can be often specifically resolved in New York City, or our students sometimes have constraints related to legal issues, which are obviously very specific for even New York City immigration courts, or they have mental health problems, and all of when we provide referrals. So these are referrals to places that are operating here locally.
Just to say also, the American government does not provide any funding to support refugees inside the country, not asylum seekers specifically. So they, unlike Canada or European Union, where some supports are built into legislation on refugee, in refugee law and regulation, United States does not provide anything. That's why it's very much private initiatives and different nonprofits, foundations private universities and other trying to connect. So this is what we're trying to do, given the absence of any federal support or any social support to asylum seekers in this country.
Other questions?
Do you have another question? But I'm happy to. I know I've already spoken quite a bit, so
Sure.
I'm happy to have someone else go first. But you brought up another point about the importance of this kind of recognizing, you know, the kind of external and internal things that are affecting our ability to learn, and how important that psychosocial support is in learning. And I think it's such an excellent and innovative idea that you brought in Masters of Social Work students. And I'm wondering kind of what have been their recommendations, or what are kind of the lessons learned in that collaboration?
Well, we have one of our MSW interns here with us, Annette Gelber, and perhaps she would like to speak to that a bit.
Yeah, as I also mentioned in the chat, it's been an incredible time to work with these individuals. I think that what's really amazing about this is that we don't just help them with like the classes and the English, but we also, like Tanzilia and Carolina and Robyn mentioned, we also help them with like resources. A lot of them are LGBTQ, as mentioned, and they come to this country alone, without without families, without any support. So they need that like extra, like someone that they know, like a community that they know that is going to be there no matter what. So it's just been incredible to sit with them and talk to them and see how we can help them in different aspects.
Thanks, Annette. I also just want to add that we have, so our sort of the structure for the programming that we have with social service support is that Tanzilia, and who's a social worker, and Tanzilia, you might want to add to this, supervises our interns, and our interns are introduced to our class at an orientation at the beginning of the semester, and they're asked to set up one-on-one sessions with just a one-time one-on-one session to begin with, so that they can meet our interns and learn about the programming that's offered and express any concerns that they may have. And then they work with our MSW interns on an as-needed basis. So if they're having some kind of issue that is affecting them or making it difficult for them to participate in class, they might reach out to one of our interns. And then Tanzilia provides our interns with support in those responses. So connecting students with resources in the city and so forth. So Tanzilia, would you like to add anything to that?
And again, to the larger issues, I wrote about this, that social work is disconnected for asylum seekers in general, because again, we don't have even dedicated state funding or federal funding for asylum seeker services. That's why nobody funds social workers to work with asylum seekers. So we're breaking this issue that this population, people we work with, require so much support and services and nobody funds them. So that's the huge advocacy that we at Reef Asylum trying to work with, and especially legal representation is not guaranteed. It's very difficult to find legal support for every asylum case, and there is no dedicated social services funded. That's why social work is kind of separated. So I see kind of my work is to introduce social work school and social work students to this population and say there is over 2 million now people in backlog, then there are people who are waiting for asylum, and we are kind of as a profession are not super connected, again, because there's no public funding for asylum seeking services for asylum seekers.
And Tanzilia mentioned legal challenges that our students have. And one of the things that we've been able to do at the CNIE, again, is to bring in the NYU Immigrant Defense Initiative to offer free legal counsel to students and their families. So that's a resource we were able to access at NYU. A resource that we were not able to access at NYU is the Wellness Center. So in that case, we need to refer students to the city wellness options. And I think that again, when we talk about flexibility with this kind of model, those situations will change from place to place, from university to university. So where you can't access the resources within the university, you might then reach out to the community and find out what the resources are there. And so a lot of the work is connecting students to what they need and making sure that they're actually part of a community. Any other questions?
One more quick question, just what does your recruitment cycle look like, and how could those based in New York that are interested in getting involved, how can they put together a really great application, and what does your ideal student look like?
So, our recruitment is it's different from what we do at the ELI open enrollment program. So, but we do use the same kind of assessment. So one of the things that's very important is to identify the language proficiency level of the students who are applying, since this course is just designed to be a very advanced level course. That's what's not offered in New York City. Most of the programming that's free in New York City doesn't go to a high enough level to serve people who are trying to work in their professions and use English in a professional workspace or in an academic setting. So, so one of the things we need to do is to assess all of the students who apply. And for that, we have had our ELI faculty interview students on site, and our online testing includes a language, a speaking component and a writing component. And in terms of outreach, we really work through our community providers. So RIF Asylum Support and other community providers in New York City. We have worked over the past years to build relationships with community providers in New York City. So each time we offer a course, and we follow the NYU academic calendar. So we offer a course each semester, and when we do outreach, we reach out to providers directly so that they can be sure to pass on the information to the communities that they're working with, so that we know that we're recruiting in the communities that have need, and that the information is shared with students who might then be able to come to us and be assessed. And then we always have more applicants than we can accommodate, but a lot of the selection has to do with the language level.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? No? Okay, so I think Mary was kind enough to paste all of our contact information in the chat. So we would love for people to contact us if they have further questions about the CNIE work, about what we do, or about any initiatives that you might be involved in and we might be able to help you with. So please do reach out to us if you have questions after the session. And thank you everybody for attending on behalf of the Collaborative for New Immigrant Education. And thank you, MIT,
Yeah.
for hosting us.